log back into the meeting. All right. We'll give them a second to log in, but if you're here in person, where is Brian? Brian, do you mind handing me 2 copies? I didn't get 2 copies. Like, or 1 copy per handout. Thank you, brother. All right. So, if you have both of the handouts, let me just point out, some of the people, of course, all of us need this, but some of the people that I really wanted to hear it are the people who are watching at home, because they're people with mobility issues that can't access our facilities. So,
I don't think they're gonna know because it cut off in the middle of your benediction.
okay.
I know you didn't press it off, it just stopped in the
All right.
middle of your benediction.
Well, I tell you what, son, hit record on, do you see at the very bottom, it's where it says, start streaming, and to the left of it, it says record. Hit record, and then we'll just, send this to people, by email. All right. Okay, so what we have in front of you is, an overview of the expansion and, the elevation. So there should be 2 different pages, one that has, some elevations and then a smaller diagram of the floor plan. And then the second one that has a very expanded view of the floor plan. So I'm looking at the first one is elevations, the one that has a smaller view of the plan. This just gives you an idea, if you're looking at the side of the building where the wheelchair ramp is, if you see the image to the far right where it says elevations, that's going to be what you see when you are looking at the church from the parking lot right out here where the wheelchair ramp is. So there will be a door directly that would lead to the office, and then where you see the 2 windows, one of those windows is in the office and the other window, one of the windows is in the hallway and the other window is in the restroom. So as soon as you would enter the building, if everyone wants to look up just for a minute, as soon as you enter through these doors, right there where the curtain hangers are, that would become a door. And so you would have the option of, if you need to use the restroom, go to the kitchen, or go to the office, you could enter there. And as soon as you do, if you're looking at the second page under existing, the words that stand out to me are existing building, but it's the blown up floor plan. As soon as you enter and turn to the right, there's a hallway, and there will be 2 ADA accessible restrooms and there'll be unisex, both of them, so that you can use either one. But those will be upstairs restrooms that we are hoping to add so that we don't have to go downstairs to use the restroom. And then from the hallway, you'll walk into the pantry, and the pantry will be immediately off. So this door here to my left, we'll keep that door, and that will lead directly to the pantry. However, one thing that we're hoping to include in this building expansion is the removal of the pulpit or the platform, so that this will all be one level, and the doorway both going to the hallway to the restrooms as well as the doorway going to the pantry will be flush with the floor. That would give us more room over here to have chairs set up, and we may or may not, I think there's been some discussion about bringing that half wall all the way to the top to give an enclosed foyer there so that people have a little more privacy when they start to use the restroom. Yes, sir. Do you?
Is that my one?
No. I mean, it's on, but the battery's dead. Well, people at home can't hear me anyway, but we're recording, so. All right, I've got 1 bar. Let's see how much I can say. Okay, is that better? All right. So the platform will be removed, making this all flush. And then as soon as you come in, the restrooms will be through a door immediately to your right. And those restrooms are fairly decent size. They are ADA compliant restrooms, but the diagram is there in the second handout, or the handout that has the floor plan blown up. And then the pantry will hopefully include a dishwasher, a sink, a refrigerator, but it will not be a full-blown industrial-sized kitchen. It'll just be sort of like a butler's pantry or a kitchenette. but it will be roughly sufficient to provide the meals that we have here every Sunday, as well as for special events. And then there will be some storage closets to the rear left of the pantry. And then to the right, you see the door and the rectangular room that's labeled office. That will be the church office, roughly a 10 by 15 office space. And it'll be both accessible from the pantry. You'd have to go through the hallway, through the pantry, and then into the office if you wanted to access it from the inside. Or there'll be a door, and that's if you go back to the other handout, you'll see from the exterior, under the description elevations, you see a door there leading directly into the office so that you can go into the office without coming into the main sanctuary. So these are the preliminary floor plans, and Mark Bleeker, did I say that right? I usually mispronounce his name. It did these for us, and so we're very grateful. But this gives you an idea. So we do not have a contractor yet, and we may not need one. We'll see. There has been some discussion. The church that was here 2 Sundays ago, Mitchell Road Presbyterian Church, mentioned that they might put together a team of people to come out and help us build it. If they do, that will save us the cost of a contractor. I've not heard from them for sure one way or the other. My only request, and I think I could speak for all of us, is that if they do that, we would want it done in a expeditious and efficient way so that we're not, because of the exposure to the outside, so that we're not, 6 months into a project that would be potentially insecure because and also minimize how much time we have to have clutter and have mess, have construction mess. We do not want to have to cancel a service to do this expansion, so hopefully that'll be something we don't have to do. But there's a couple options, I think, that we're looking at, and we'll keep you abreast of those as they come along. But I will say that the preliminary estimate that was thrown out, the preliminary cost estimate for doing this expansion that we initially worked with, and there's a lot of caveats to this because the architect is from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, so he doesn't know a lot about the local codes and the local permitting process, but we're shooting for the ballpark of $100,000. And so that's kind of the first thing I want to set in front of you is the building plans, the estimated cost of roughly $100,000. We do have a friend of Mark who's willing to come look at the building and then give us a more hard and fast estimate, and he's local, so his numbers would probably be a bit more localized, and we could determine whether or not that's a good ballpark. But we've been moving forward with the assumption that this expansion would cost about $100,000. The second piece of information I wanted to share is that we have been sharing the vision ever since February or March when we received these architectural drawings. We've been communicating to people the desire to do this expansion, and even though the rough estimate's $100,000, we've been able to raise $58,000 to date. So we're over halfway there. Yes, I think you can go ahead, Helen, and everyone else. I think we can rejoice in God's provision. God is faithful, and so we're well underway of being there. We do, we are continuing to raise funds outside the church. So there have been a lot of churches that have partnered with us that have sent checks or pledged support, and we are providing ways both virtually for people to support online as well as in person. And then the third thing I wanted to share with you, 3 things, like every good preacher. The third thing I wanted to share with you is that if you are interested, we'll continue to raise funds outside of the church because this is a pretty big ticket item and we're a very small church. But if you feel led of the Lord to give over and above your normal giving towards the building expansion, the way that we encourage you to do so is if you write a check between now and the end of the year. We're kind of focusing on, the external building campaign, and you can be part of that internally as part of our church. If you write a check, just put in the memo line how much of that check, or if the total amount goes to the building fund. Or if you don't write a check and use cash, there are envelopes. Brian, would you walk over there and pick up those envelopes that say tithe and offering on them? As soon as you walk in, they've been there forever, which how many people have noticed them? Not that many. All right, well, lift one up if you don't mind. If you give by cash and you don't want all of the cash, or even if you do want all the cash that you give to go to the building campaign, just put on there building campaign. We are calling this campaign the Trailhead Campaign because we hope that it's the first of many. So you can write on there for the building or building campaign or Trailhead, whatever you want, and that'll go to the expansion of the building. But again, we encourage you to give over and above because we know we are a small church and we're not, well, 15% of our annual budget is currently covered by internal giving. So we know that we could not do a project like this without partnering churches and the support of outside people. So we're continuing to raise funds outside the church. Yes, Helen. And I'll tell you what, why don't you let me give you this mic, and I'm going to wear my lanyard mic. That way, if you have a question that people have at home, then hopefully we'll answer your question and theirs too.
What kind of sink and drain board and appliances are you envisioning, please?
Yeah.
In the bathroom or the?
In the kitchen?
So we're not there yet, but if you're volunteering to be on that committee, you're hired. So, yeah, we've not gotten to that fine level of detail yet, but we will need to in the very near future, especially once, I'm sure there will be some material that we just, depending on how much, when we meet with the contractor to get a more definite cost estimate, he'll give us a ballpark, I assume, of the type of material, whether we want to go luxury vinyl or, whether we want to go top end or mid end or bottom of the line, which we'll steer clear of bottom of the line. But, we may not be able to have the top end, but maybe we can land somewhere in the middle. And then as he gives us numbers, we'll have a more accurate idea of how much that will cost and then make our decision from there. So there's some things that we may be able to, go top of the line. There's some things we may want to go mid-grade just due to the budget. So yes, those are questions that are very good. And I think as we continue to progress in the building plan that we'll tap you all to volunteer your time if you're interested in helping us to make those decisions.
It's premature, I'm sure, but there are a couple of really good restaurant supply stores that carry top-of-the-line restaurant equipment that's been taken out of restaurants and places. And it might be, I'm just thinking, used stainless steel doesn't rot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll look at that. And like I said, when we get a little further along, I will ask volunteers to be the committee to help pull all that together because, I think those are decisions that you all need to make and not one person, but they're decisions that you'll have to make knowing that, we may not be able to get the top of the line for everything. Maybe we can, but who knows? But based on how much the budget will be and how much we're able to raise, that will also determine whether we get mid-grade or top grade. But looking at some of those options, and those are things that you all know that I may not, will be where we need to depend on each other. And so that's why, even though we've had these architectural drawings since March, I wanted to make sure that I put them in front of you now because we're at the point, when it was just an idea or a dream or a wish, I didn't want to get your hopes up, but now that we've been able to raise externally more than 50% of the preliminary estimated cost of doing the expansion, I think this is something that's doable that by God's grace we'll be able to do hopefully in the next 12 to 18 months. So if we can, I want you to have, all of these drawings are preliminary so we can tweak it as we go along, but I wanted you to have the idea of what it is that we're hoping to do. So what this will allow us to have, by the way, and I intended to say this in the beginning, but I'll say it now, is 2 upstairs ADA accessible restrooms, so you do not have to go downstairs if you're not able to. Access to the office, a new improved office that's a little smaller, but yet it meets the needs on the main level, and also a kitchenette or pantry on the main level. And you say, well, don't we have a kitchen downstairs? Yes, we do. But that space, it's our vision for that space to eventually become all dedicated children and youth space. So, when we have upstairs restrooms, hopefully we'll be able to make that happen. All right, that's what I wanted to share for your information. Any questions? Jeb, Brian, would you come over here and give Jeb the mic, please? Thank you. What do you do for people at home? They can't hear you at home. Hey.
Just a note is that on the larger plan, which is easier to read, that was the initial drawing. Then some folks here, Greg and I think Dave and others, went back, asked us to make some changes. So the actual drawing on the page with all the details, the plan is really more accurate, and you'll notice that they're not the same. So the one that's on the floor plan with the elevations and sections is the one that's they're aiming at. I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you for pointing that out. Yes, they are, and I missed that, so thank you, brother. So the larger floor plan gives you an idea, but there are some changes that we made to it that you'll be able to see, and it is small, and I put it on legal size paper, but it's still not large enough. But the floor plan that's on the smaller rendering is the final rendition of the layout. So just some of the changes are there is an external door on the floor plan. The smaller floor plan, there's not on the larger floor plan. The storage closet is one instead of two storage closets with the doors in the middle. And the sink and dishwasher and some cabinetry is on the toilet side of the pantry instead of the eastern-facing wall side. And then also the location of the toilets back up against each other, and the location of the sinks provide access for people who may be in a wheelchair to turn around and access the sink. Don't think there's any other. Pardon? Okay, that's it, yes. Both plans show the platform remaining, but we've since decided, at the time there was some discussion about whether we would make this the front of the church as it was customarily designed to be. And I think we've pretty much concluded that we want this to be the permanent front of the church, just for spatial reasons, but also for the flow of the building and the fact that we don't want people to have to walk to the front of the building to use the restrooms. That might make people a little uncomfortable. All right, Helen?
I just wanted to harp on commercial appliances
Yes.
for a moment. If the Lord does bless us with getting a good used refrigerator, freezer type, the door going from the hallway is 2 feet 8 inches. If you notice, the door coming in where the wheelchairs are, the door is greater. But that I can't do it for a while, but I will go get some dimensions for you. And then David or whomever else is serving on this committee might want to review the dimensions.
Yes.
Because if you put the door and wall up and then you can't get your refrigerator in there, then that's going to limit you to a residential refrigerator.
That's a good point. And I think we were sort of veering towards residential appliances anyway, because once we get full-blown industrial appliances, the code is different, and we don't want to have to try to adhere to that code. But that is a good point, and I apologize. My eyes are just old enough to where I can't see any of those. That's what I was trying to do with this drawing, is blow it up enough to where we could see, but since it's not the final rendering, it's not very helpful. But I'll tell you what, because we're used to doing this, and you can do that to the paper all you want to, and it doesn't do any good, or maximizing it on a computer, this is available on the church website, the final drawing. So if you go to woodlandsgathering.org and you click on building expansion, I believe it is, then you can blow it up and be able to see better what those dimensions are. Also, if you're interested in serving on those committees, let me know, and we'll put you to work. Yes, darling.
I just wanted to reiterate something that you mentioned, but
Here, use the mic, please, so people at home can hear you. If there's anyone, do we have anyone with us virtually? If not, it's pre-recorded. Okay. Good.
Mitchell Road, who has donated to this project financially, and you had mentioned maybe they'll come help us. They have a organization under their umbrella called Homes with a Mission, and it's a separate nonprofit that does construction work. They are a group of people that are very experienced construction people, like that's their careers, and so it's a collective of people who are construction people. They have built churches from the ground up locally and internationally. So they are very, very skilled workers, and so they have said they would like to come and help us do the build when we're ready. So obviously there's those details to iron out, but in terms, or I have confidence that we have the workers, and that helps us with our budget because we're not having to pay somebody
Now,
to do
granted,
it.
the person who actually said they would come help is not part of that committee, nor is he responsible for telling that committee what to do, so that's why I'm a little hesitant. Oh, I thought you were talking about Jason, but I think we lost a battery. All right.
Yeah, so no, Bob's organization has said twice now that they want to come and build. And when they come, they usually come for several weeks at a time, which is why it's kind of hard to coordinate because these people are volunteers with jobs, but they'll come and, with the church in North Carolina, they built from the ground up.
Yeah.
I'm good. I just wanted to say, we really, it's not just a mission group saying, hey, we'll come and help. It is a construction team that are professionals that have built several
Yeah.
churches from the ground up that want to come and do this project. This is a small scale project for them.
Right, yeah, and thanks for clarifying and making that point, darling.
Well, I think it's huge when you think about fundraising,
yes.
thinking about our budget and everything, to think that's a big piece that's most likely already covered.
Yes. And so our goal is to continue to raise 100,000 regardless, so that if we get word from Mitchell Road that they will come and build it for us, then we have more than enough budget. We can actually do some other things around the property that need to be done. By the way, some people have asked, what's the plan for the building? The actual shed it's currently the pantry and the office space that's accessible through this walkway. Our hope would be to remove it without damaging it, relocate it to the bottom of the property, and turn it into a free store, which would be a place for donations to be made, and then people who are in need could come and take what they need and then leave what they don't, and we would make it available to the community. We want to put it down there at the bottom so that whenever fresh produce is available from our community garden, they can access both at the same time without having to traverse a large distance. So, and plus it's flat down there, and I think that's really the only place we could put it, just terrain-wise. Okay, other questions or thoughts? Yes, Judy.
Is an oven included in this?
Yes. A warming oven, a warming drawer is what's included, not a full-scale industrial oven. And the only reason, one thing we ran into when we were talking about the design is the more than possibility, the certainty that if we mention to any contractor, or even if we do it ourselves, if we get a building permit, there's separate code issues for an industrial kitchen, a commercial kitchen, as opposed to like a little kitchenette. But our goal is to have a warming drawer in there so that people can keep their food warm, and hopefully even a cooktop where we can cook. Yes, and the refrigerator as well as a dishwasher and a sink. Okay, any other questions? Anything online from anyone who might be online? We will record this and email it to people if they weren't able to join us. No? Anything in here? Questions? Comments? Okay. Well, let's wrap up then, and we'll transition to lunch. Stay tuned. We will give any updates we have. And again, if you're interested in serving on the committee that helps us decide, when it comes to interior design, I think we'll be a bit limited to appliances based on our budget, as well as, based on what we can get done in a non-commercial kitchen. But if you're interested in helping with design, decisions revolving around design, please let me know. and we will put you to use on that committee. We do want it to be uniform, so we don't want, that part of the building to look excessively different than this sanctuary, but even that is something that other people know how to do better than I. So we want you, this is your church, and we want you to have the opportunity to decide how things are done with this expansion. And we're just thankful for the opportunity to even consider it, let alone do it, which we hope will happen, like I said, in 12 to 18 months. That's my prayer. All right. Well, let me conclude in prayer then, and we'll have lunch together. Celebrate birthdays. Let's pray. Father in heaven, we thank you for the way you provide for us so graciously and abundantly. We thank you for the prospect of adding this expansion to our church building, and for all those who either donated their skill with the architectural drawing or their money with those who gave to the work. And we do pray that if this is your will, that it would be seen to fruition and that it would be done in your timing, and that ultimately this build would glorify you and would make it possible for us to truly live up to our vision of being a safe place for Native people and all people to encounter the good news of God. Father, we thank you again for the work that you're doing among us, and just pray your blessing over these, our efforts and the labor of our hands. In Jesus' powerful name, amen. All right. Well, before we disassemble and break down these chairs, I'm going to ask David, if he will, to give thanks over this food.